make the social media a little easier for me because I only have so many hours in a day. And I found that I didn't even know this for the longest time, that I can record those TikToks. Why is he? There you go. I'm just going to put him kind of like that. And so recording those allows me to clip them in different AI apps and stuff to give me my shorts. And so it's so much easier on that. And I think like you helping me kind of identify that setup, Lupe, was huge because if you notice on some of my latest TikToks where you see the captions, but leaving that black area down below lets the captions be clean. You know what I mean? So, all right, guys, let me start this recording here just for when we get our library in place. And we have quite an interesting morning of the way that we are set up. So let me take a look at that. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. All right, so let's look at this guys really quick. I do got Neo running on the side. I do have him muted, though. Couple changes to him. I love the new face here. You know, we're trying to do a little more welcoming Neo, not, you know, I'm going to steal all your money, Neo. And let's look at kind of where we are in the market here. So let's go to the high time frame here. And I'm going to zoom out. You guys all know I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because I've been talking about it for months. This is a bearish structure. It just is. But it tends to be a structure that has one more little blow off top. I've proven that many times on 15 seconds that have almost the identical structure. Usually that blow off top is either generated by a tap here or a tap from these lows. If you look at where we are, we're not necessarily confirmed blow off top until we breach our downtrend and reclaim some levels here, like these highs, right? If we push up into here, no chance I'm shorting at all for a bit because we're pretty high probability to go up to there or higher. Anything short of that, guys, we are still bearish, lower highs, lower lows. So we don't want to negate that fact, right? Now, if you guys noticed, this was the structure we were identifying a while ago. We had a double bottom with a doji, close above. We all rode that long. It was great. This pullback to the trend line was expected. We even talked about it. As we push back up, for us to hit that same level is normal. For us to get a close above that level typically creates a big push, right? We didn't quite get the big push, but we are trying to hold these prior highs. So this 253 level right here, 253.25, is really huge for me as far as my bias. If we are below that, you're going to want to be really careful taking longs because anything that holds too deep below this is going to run the risk of, you know, retesting these lows down here, up in this area here. Anything that is held above that 253, right, is going to give us that potential push north. Now, you guys know how I love to treat these dojis. We have a high and a low on the 4 hour. We didn't, man, it's really close. Let's see. It's too close for me to do anyways, but 202.50, and then the close was 205.25. So just barely didn't quite get that close below the doji, right? If you want to be perfectionists on it. We did get another doji. We're not closed below, but we're not closed above. Comes across, we are now forming another doji, right? Now, what I'm going to do, just for the sake of it, is I want to put a line. I hate how TikTok Live, I say it every time, but it doesn't let me do my hotkey for horizontal. It's so stupid. So I'm going to put one here, and I'm going to put one here, because this doji right here, to me, is going to be very relevant. So if I want to be perfect on it, I could take the low 168.50. That was pretty close. So we'll make that there, and then I'm going to lock it. I'm only going to put them white, because they're not really there for any TA other than that doji, right? So the high, 383, so a little more off on that one. So we'll just tap it down. 83. Did I say 83 or 83.50? 83. Okay. And then I'm going to lock it. Those white lines are going to be very, very important to me, guys, on market open. Because anything that breaches below that, we are now doji, right? We want to look to see if we get that close below. If we get that close below, the fall is going to be deep. If we get the close above, the push is going to be deep, right? So we can use that as just like a little guidance, right? Now, it's a pretty good spread, right? You know, you're looking at a little over $200, right? Spread. So we can trade within it if we stay internal, which is fine. But at the end of the day, we are break a structure, pull, bounce. This high, 253, is huge because this is an area high that we want to see hold as support in order to go up. If that area collapses, and we're going down, right? And so we want to keep that in mind when we're watching the lower time frame swings. And so we can look a little bit lower into the 1 hour and see if there's any modifications. So if you look at the 4 hour, this was where we have it. This is where we have it, right? Now we have a 1 hour. So now we have to decide, do I want to adjust to the 1 hour or do I want to adjust and keep it to the 4 hour? It's up to you. I might adjust it to the 1 hour just to get a little tighter range of where we're going to close. Because the 4 hour is going to take a lot longer to play out than the 1 hour, right? In most cases. So this gives us a pretty good doji setup, right? Which we had it here. Now we have to ask ourselves questions here, right? Remember, we had our setup here, came across, we got our close below, and then it came down. Like, why didn't this just dump us, right? If I were to tell you we were right there, we're pretty bearish, right? You can even take the structure, we broke it, got a low, got a close below it. I mean, that should be bearish as hell, right? And we didn't. We ended up jumping, right? So that tells you that we're in an area that's trying to kind of consolidate, right, or compress. And the last time that we got it closed below that doji, it didn't hold. So we want to be careful, right? Because also, not only do we have the doji here, but we have a hammer here. So if we get it close above that hammer, right, anything that closes above that is going to give it a little bit more propulsion back north. So few things we got to watch out for today, right? So we'll keep an eye on that as we get into open. So we got, what, 1 minute? So let's get back over here. That took a little longer than I wanted, but let's just go into here, prepare for our open. So I am going to have Neo on here, guys. I'm going to turn the audio back on, so we'll watch him. I want, again, anybody joining TikTok, anything, right? He is new. He is learning. Yesterday was his first open, and he did really well, actually, I think, considering. I don't think there was, and you guys can keep me honest, right? I don't think there was really any instances that he was just blatantly wrong, right? And so we're getting the open push from there. So let's go back to the 1 minute. So this push is going to be a big deal, right? Because remember, so the pre-market, you guys remember we called this inverse head and shoulder, right? So now that we've had this push, again, it's market open. So I'm curious to see how he calls these market open plays, right? So I'm going to unmute him every 5 minutes. I'm just going to let him talk. The plan is I'm going to interpret what he's saying. Because remember, just because he says it's bearish doesn't mean we can't go up. We got to interpret his concerns, his reason why he still thinks that it's more bearish. And when those reasons that it's more bearish get invalidated, we can choose to trade the inverse, right? He's just going to call sentiment. He's not calling signals. So on that. So I'm going to unmute him. I'll wait till he finishes talking on that one. So let the open settle, guys. We have our swing high. You guys know how this works. We usually get that swing high. We know that there's a lot of resistance here. This swing high rejected almost perfectly off the 1 hour Lisma. That gives us our rear back. We always sweep wick, rear back. If the rear back keeps a higher low and we reclaim this area, right, we're good to take a scalp north. If we come back down here and we get a breach wick there with the close below, then we're going to take our scalp south, right? That's how I would trade that on the open. So I'm going to read this, but I love that instantly right at 9:30 he said, I don't care that it just jumped, I'm bearish. And then it's pulling back, so, can't hate him for that one. But he's saying that, you know, the macro trend is bearish in the bias, 1 minute, all that stuff. Let's just read the reasoning so we can keep going. The macro structure is bearish. On the 1 minute, price made a push, but it failed to create that higher high instead of rejecting on the recent highs. Now, mind you, it's doing it at 9:30 with the look back, right? And so, let's see, concerns, the 1 minute EMA 200 and VWAP trends are still bullish, along with 15-second Lisma and EMA, suggesting that underlying short-term buying pressure, which could attempt to reclaim levels and push higher as the counter trend move, right? And so that was its concern. So I'm going to mute them again, guys. Sentiment is just the sentiment of the condition right there. It's not entry. So please do not confuse that as entry, because it is not entry. So, all right. But we are rocking and rolling, guys. To me, we are, if you guys notice, we got the big push there, mostly because of the inverse head and shoulders that was kind of playing. And we called that in the pre-market, right? Kind of have this inverse head and shoulders. We got a push. This is a critical neckline from that. Now, market open's a little wonky, right? Because it can always swing high and swing low. It's what it does anyways. And so we're experiencing that right now. I love when it does this. As you guys know, when I do market open, I love to see these kind of swing up, swing down, because on the swing down, I'm going to analyze that, right? So we have a low here. We did not create a lower low, but here's our kind of area of support. We did get a close below that. That should have dropped us there, but it's market open, so I got a little push. What you would want to do is you don't want to take a long. If you're one that is like myself, you don't want to really go entry long until you reclaim certain levels, right? Because we know we have a swing high, and then we know we're creating a swing low. This swing low is very critical, because if this swing low is going to hold a higher low, any push here with a reclaim is going to be pretty violent, right? And so you can see the micro is trying to hold the higher low, but it needs to get a push and a close above. Now, we know that we have a lot of resistance on this chart here within there. So the safer play would be to get a breach wick here, close there, and then ride a quick scalp there. You could take a chance on the fact that if we come back up and we reclaim things like the 200 and the 253, right, that would be where I would want to take that. Because remember, we just said if we stay below this 253, it's going to drop pretty hard. Now, we know we have this white line here, and that white line is important, right, because that's our 1 hour doji. Anything that's held above here is going to continue north. So, plus we also have our macro. Remember, we don't want to lose sight of the macro. We pull that down. We did have a breach wick. You guys all know from those in the development class and mentor. Whenever we get a breach wick, it's almost certain you get that rear back, right? And so, oh, I was looking at the, so us pushing here and us rear backing the way we did is not way out of bounds, right? Now, if we want to explode north...
The macro bias from the 5 minutes and 1 minute EMA 200s is bearish.
I'm going to interpret
the
it,
1
so
minute
don't
price
take
action
signals
has
off it,
established
right?
a clear bearish structure with lower highs and a failure to maintain higher lows. On recent pullbacks, indicating persistent downside pressure, while the 1 minute anchored VWAP shows a bullish trend and the 15 seconds data is conflicting, the dominant higher timeframe bearish structure and progression do not currently present a high probability. Entry for either direction: sentiment, bearish, confidence. 6 out of 10. Reason: the 5 minutes and 1 minute EMA 200s are trending bearish. The 1 minute structure is showing lower highs and a failure of the most recent pullback to establish a clear higher low, suggesting continuation of the bearish trend. Concerns: the 1 minute anchored VWAP is indicating a bullish trend, and the 15 seconds timeframe data contains conflicting trend signals, preventing full timeframe alignment. Price is currently in a pullback phase, not yet confirming a clear continuation or reversal entry.
If we push above here, like we said, right, any higher low here is going to be a violent push. So remember, again, this is just, when it says sentiment, I'm going to think of a different way to kind of like illustrate that, because it's not a signal call, guys. Like when he says bearish, it's not like, oh, jump into a short. He's just saying, hey, we're bearish at the moment. That's the sentiment of the market, which it kind of is, right? We have a deep drop, and we've had a big old push with a deep reclaim. It is. But we know that it's market open. We know how market open acts. When we get a market open push with a pull higher low, that tends to breach wick a key level, which it just did, right? Then it rears back. A close above would be your entry for the long, right? You still got to know how to read the market a little, which is what I teach in the classes, to interpret him. If you really look at it, we want to know what is the reason he said that. Well, he said it because the 5 and the 1 minute at the time he did it were bearish, which they were, suggesting that we should get a deeper continuation rejection. Now, his concerns are there's a few bullish things that are happening, preventing full time frame alignment. The price is currently in a pullback phase, not yet confirming that it's a continuation. So if you interpret that right, he's just saying, hey, I see the push, we pulled down, we're still below some areas, so I'm still going to read that as sentiment bearish, which at the time it was. But if you look at the concerns, he's like, we're not really confirming continuation because it looks like it's just a pullback, which it was, right? And we did not get, like if I wanted to go short here, I need this to sweep high, sweep low, create a lower low, breach my 1 hour doji that we identified, right? Get the close below, and then I have OA. Anything that holds above here runs the risk of jumping, right? And it makes it risky. And that's where the with Neo and Beta right now, guys, we give him, he can see a lot, but we have limited parameters on what we allow him to say, right? Because I want him just to keep it directional of like, hey, sentiment is this, here's my confidence, and these are my concerns, these are my reasons. So because that's how I teach, right? I want you guys to know the why did I say it's that, and I want to tell you what my concerns are, because we don't have crystal balls. Even with AI, right, he doesn't have a crystal ball. You still have to understand a little of the logic to choose an entry, right? And so that's kind of where I teach that in the development class and then in the mentorship group, right? And so let's just kind of keep going through. I'm going to interpret it the best I can to kind of help guide you guys through this as far as what I see, and then we'll interpret what he says each time. So, but again, remember, he is just generalizing direction and giving concerns in the why. I'm going to kind of do the best I can to take that, interpret it, and then give you conditions for entry, right? I am not going to likely ever tell you, go long, right? Go short. Because I want you to get through the emotional part of trading, which is so important, which is for you to identify when to hit it, right? Now, I know a lot of people like to say, well, just tell me when to go in. And that's not going to help you any, guys. But you can see, interesting enough, look at this. With the push and the pull, even with this push, he still held his guns bearish, and it's still dropping. So, and again, right, 253 we know is key. Now, remember what I said. When we hit
The market
this,
presents a strong bearish
we
structural
usually get a
bias
pull,
across all time
and then it
frames,
tries
5
again.
minutes, 1 minute, 15 seconds,
See how he lowered
with
his
price
confidence?
trading below all key moving averages. However, the most recent 1 minute price action shows a push higher that failed to continue, closing lower and forming a doji on the Heikin Ashi. This indicates short-term indecision and a failure of immediate bullish progression, creating misalignment with a clear bearish continuation setup. This is a low probability entry due to the lack of clear, confirmed continuation in the immediate price action despite the overarching bearish structure. Sentiment: bearish. Confidence: 3 out of 10. Reason: all higher time frame EMA trends, 5 minutes, 1 minute, and 15 seconds LSMA, EMA trends are clearly bearish, indicating a strong downward structural bias. Price is trading below key moving averages, suggesting resistance. Concerns: the most recent 1 minute candle failed to continue higher after a push, closing lower. The 1 minute Heikin Ashi is green in a do G, indicating short-term indecision or a potential attempt at a counter-trend bounce that lacked follow-through, conflicting with a clear bearish progression for an immediate entry. There is no clear, confirmed bearish continuation in the immediate price action.
dot. We're still working on how to make him be a little better on some of the verbiage, but he's doing good. But interesting enough, guys, right? I mean, he's still sticking to those guns of being bearish, but his confidence did lower. So far, it's a great call, right, from it. Now, if you look at his concerns of the bearish, right, we have the most recent candle closing lower low, which we finally did, so that's not a concern anymore. The green short-term indecision, counter trend bounce, lack of follow-through, conflicting bearish progression, immediate entry, no clear. And so what, in a sense, right, it's saying why it's more concerned now, which I'm not opposed to, is remember we have a high, we have a low. We know that this is a key level. We know that this is a low. For me to do an entry, I would need a breach wick, close below, and then I would take a short, right? So his concerns are still pretty valid, right, in my book. So, and again, you know, we've seen this many times in open, guys, where this is it tried to break the trend. It hit the, you know, POC, breach wick, a pullback is normal. For us to pull back even all the way to 139 would be within reason, right? But if we continue to hold higher lows here and we create a hammer here with another push, that would be a rear back push and then close above, right? You're not really clear to take shorts until you get some kind of close below at least 184, right? Any kind of short above that's going to be super dangerous. So from a market open, right, we have a nice little compression kind of being built. This is our open sweep. This is our low. ORB's about to be set in 2 minutes. So we'll see if we get the push here. So you guys know when we get this drop here, look at the micro. This makes a big difference. These are our lows. We got to close just below it, and then we reclaimed, right? If we got this closed below it with liquidity here at Asia low, why didn't we just drop, right? It should have just dropped right there. Now, the fact that the bulls are pushing, we got a hammer close above that breach wicks. The breach wick typically pulls back. Any kind of hold of here, 201, is going to try again, and that should have enough steam to close above. Anything short of that, right, we're going to have another pullback. Now, mind you, on the 1 minute, we're still below the 200, we're still below Lisma, we're still below 253. So the safer play would be to watch these breach wicks, get the pull, get a close above those, and then ride it long. Anything short of that, you know, if you're going to long scalp, you know, you got to do some, you know, micro stuff, right? Where you got the hammer, close above, you're in, you're out, right? If you're going to short scalp, you know, you're looking at these lows, you want to get a breach of it, close below, and then you're going to take it to here, right? Now, again, any kind of shorts below, above 184 to me are kind of risky, just because of the way that that doji is set up, right? So let's look and see. What we're looking at here. Yeah. Trying to watch the DOM, guys, as you guys know I love to do. Because that DOM's going to kind of tell us what we're doing here. So we're getting a little bit of a pull. Again, look,
the market presents a clear
he's
bearish
still
structure across all time
bearish.
frames, with the
But
5
be
minutes,
careful
1
of this
minute, and
184,
15
guys. We
seconds all
definitely can
aligned to the
bounce.
downside.
Right.
While there was a recent attempt on the 1 minute to push higher, price has failed to sustain this momentum, showing indecision and remaining within a range, indicating a potential failure of the recent pullback within the larger bearish trend. This alignment points to sustained seller control, although immediate continuation requires confirmation beyond the current consolidation. Sentiment: bearish. Confidence: 7 out of 10. Reason: all time frames, 5 minutes, 1 minute, 15 seconds, are clearly bearish. Price has attempted to push higher but has failed to create sustained continuation and remains well below key moving averages, indicating strong seller control. Concerns: the 1 minute time frame is currently showing a doji in his inside range, indicating indecision or consolidation. In the immediate term, which suggests a lack of clear momentum for an aggressive new entry without further confirmation of a lower low or rejection.
Yeah. So, you know, he's still holding his guns, which I'm not opposed to, right? Now, he's not going to likely see this level, right? Because this is that doji from the 1 hour that we're watching. We know we got the breach wick. A close below is going to drop it pretty good. He's holding his guns to bearish. I want to see how that works out. But we know that because this is the low of the 1 hour doji, there's a chance that we could bounce here, right? So, but he's not wrong, right? We still got sell signals. We still got, bearish pressure. Nothing is confirmed anything going the other way yet. If you want to look at it, you can take something on the micro, the 15-second, and just take a little trend like that, right? Just to kind of identify it. Tons of resistance up here. And so we'll see how that plays. But again, I'm mostly interested on this 184 because if we get a close here and we get any kind of reclaim, that reclaim is going to be really violent. But if we get a close here and it rejects, that drop's going to be violent, right? Because we know that we run the risk of there. So we see how we got the pull. We're still sell on the micro. He's still bearish, which he's been right so far, which is pretty crazy. Pretty crazy, guys. So we're coming into our Asia low. So what I want to see, if we get the close below there, right, we're going to come in and we should test these prior lows here. We can come all the way even down to here, right? Any kind of bounce off of these lows, like if it sweeps the EU and we reclaim Asia low, right, it's going to be met with a pretty big push, right? So you want to be really careful with that. But so far his read or call south is playing out pretty good. So let's look at that. Let's see. All right. And so far again, you look at the reasoning, the concern, all that. I mean, the reasoning is pretty clear. It's all macro. It's literally, actually, look, it's all time frame alignment. 1 minute's currently showing a doji, which is inside the range, indicating indecision or consolidation for an immediate term, which suggests lacks of clear momentum for the new entry without further continuation, right? And so, in a nutshell, it's saying, hey, we're bearish. I see it all aligns, but it's possibly losing a little bit of steam, right? So you need to look for confirmation from there. So for that continuation, again, we have these cells. We got the breach wick, close below is going to dump us through again, right? Any kind of, when you get these hammers with this, a close above is going to push us back up, right? So you want to watch that. But the 1 minute's, flat top, we're still full bearish. Macro, we don't want to ignore the fact that we are coming into lows here, right? That could definitely bounce us. So be really careful being in those shorts still. We do have a trap call also on the 5 minute. It was back here, and this is a trap area, right? So any kind of pull out of that zone, which would be 190, is going to be likely a pretty decent push due to it, right? Now, if we breach that zone, then that invalidates that area, and it's going to drop pretty far. So, but just let's keep an eye on it. Let's look and see what else we got. So the 1 minute, I'm going to grab up here. I'm going to pull this down just to give us a little structure. If you're looking, for my top and bottom traders, if you're a continuation trader, right, you kind of still want to have it pull up a little bit, maybe reject off of these prior lows, doji it, and then you can kind of pull with the continuation, right? If you're looking to find the bottom, you just want to kind of stick with these trends, and you really want to make sure it reclaims.
The market exhibits clear bearish structure across all time frames. The 5 minutes and 1 minute maintain a strong bearish bias, with price consistently below key moving averages and VWAP, indicating seller control. The most recent price progression shows a sustained downward push, with current price action consolidating within a bearish range after a recent drop, validating the dominant trend for further downside continuation. Sentiment: bear-ish. Confidence: 8 out of 10. Reason: all time frames, 5 minutes, 1 minute, 15 seconds, are in strong bearish alignment. Price action on the 1 minute chart
This right
confirms
here,
clear bearish
if we get
structure
close
with
above there,
consistent
we'll
lower
push this
lows and
here.
lower highs. Price is trading well below key moving averages and VWAP, signifying firm seller control. Concerns: the 1 minute hike in Ashi high is inside range, indicating current price action is consolidating after the recent push, which could precede a minor pullback before continuation. Price may also be somewhat extended to the downside after the recent significant drop.
Pretty cool. All right. So again, as he's reading that, you got the concerns, the reasoning. A few things to add because he's only limited on certain things that he can see and say, right, while he's in beta. So we know how this acts. We have Asia low, we have EU low. This is clear liquidity it was chasing. We have a hammer. We broke our Asia low, tapped our EU low, created a hammer. A close above here is going to create propulsion to the north. It just does. So it's got to break this high though, the 775, right? 175. So once it breaks is above this 175, that would be your breach wick, little rear back, and then you would push, right? The 1 minute is creating a doji, but it's not set. We know the macro is very bearish, but we're coming into a prior low of 135, right? So any kind of push here that supports a push north on the micro is likely going to flip our macro. If we breach that low from the macro, guys, it is a long way down, right? All the way down to here. So quite a ways down. Now, to me, looking at the Dom jumps there, doesn't really seem to me that the Bears are going to push it through. Not at least on their first attempt, but we'll see. Again, we have the hammer, we got the close above. That should have enough strength to at least breach wicket here, pull it back, get the close above, and then we would determine. This breach wick pushes, we need to get the hold above there. If we push, hold above there, then it's going to go. If we push, reclaim that low, then it's going to dump. So we want to kind of watch that as we do the interpretation. So, but
Hey, Nick,
yeah.
looks like it bounced right off a 1 hour trend line 2 times. If you go back to Monday's low on the 1 hour, it hit it 2-3 times and then reclaimed it.
Yeah. You talking about here?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the biggest thing I was watching from the pre-market, right, is so this is our low, the 155, right, from the prior. And then, and so, yeah, I mean, we're right there within that Asia side of that. And then, but this doji to me is everything. This doji there. If we close with the Heikinashi below this, it's going to drop pretty hard. Now, there is a gap fill I just noticed on the 1 hour there, and we do have the 200 at 095. So it could be trying to chase that, but it doesn't have to get it directionally, right? But yeah, so it's definitely fighting those lows. Again, if you're looking at the top and bottom type trading, where doji, breach wick here, close above, and it's going to jump, right? That's just how it looks. And see how this is doing that, right? We have a hammer. See, that's how we identified our bottom. The hammer, close above, we get the halfway pull, and then we jump, right? So that's kind of how we expected that jump. So let me look at something. Yeah. All right. So now that we have our push here, right, I'm expecting maybe a little resistance within here, right? Because remember how when we do this, right, when we get these pushes, we want to push. I would prefer this push gives me a breach before it rejects, because if it pushes and it doesn't even get to it and it rejects, a lot of times that shows that the bulls are not quite as strong as they're leading out to be, right? So, but we know we're above the 184. If this 1 minute closes up here with the doji, with this here, with this being a 1 hour kind of bottom of a doji, that's going to signal some strength, and it should come up and have enough to breach wick this, right? If it doesn't, anything short of breach wick with this kind of structural setup is going to be really, really interesting from a weakness standpoint.
The market is in a clear prevailing bearish trend on the 5 minutes and 1 minute time frames, evidenced by the bearish EMA 20, 0 and VWAP trends. While recent 1 minute candles show an attempt to push higher and the Heikin Ashi is green, price remains inside its prior range, failing to confirm a higher high. The 15 seconds time frame shows conflicting signals between the LSMA and EMA trends, indicating a lack of decisive micro-level progression. This overall misalignment and lack of confirmed structural continuation make it a low probability entry environment. Sentiment: bearish. Confidence: 3 out of 10. Reason: the 5 minutes and 1 minute EMA 200 trends are decisively bearish, alongside the 1 minute VWAP, confirming the larger market structure. Price has failed to establish a clear higher high on the 1 minute time frame, remaining inside the Heikin Ashi range despite recent upward movement. Concerns: the most recent 1 minute price progression shows an attempt to push higher, and the 1M Heikin Ashi is green. Furthermore, the 15 seconds LSMA is currently bullish, creating conflicting signals at the micro level and suggesting an ongoing pullback against the dominant bearish trend.
Yeah. In a nutshell, guys, is saying, hey, our sentiment is still bearish, which, look, we are. but it's saying that due to some of the micro things lining up, that it's suggesting there might be a further continuation against the dominant bearish trend, which it is a dominant bearish trend. We know that we do the drop up, right? That's just kind of how it typically works. So it's basically saying, hey, we're still bearish, but a little less confident because of the way the micro is looking. It might have a little bit of a pull. Right, so now if you look at this, we have our structure. We did get the break. This didn't quite breach wick that. And you guys know how I feel about that, man. That it's got to have strength in this push. You know, there was not as much strength as what they led it on to be. If we were going to continue this push here deeper, we would have held around 74 or 84 at least. And we kind of lost that. So it's not ideal, right, for the old push that we wanted. But it's market open, so market open does act a little wonky. We do have our ORB set now. So now where that ORB is, plus having the doji, any kind of reclaim here should push, right? If this thing holds a higher low and rears up one more time and does not breach wick, I would say at least the 200, that inverse is going to be pretty bad. So, but let's take a look. That's something here. All right. So we got the sells on the indicators. We're getting a sell on the 1 minute, so showing pressure. He's still sticking to his guns bearish, and so far he's been right. So, you know, pretty awesome to see. Again, you know, this push here was a micro structure break, right? And if it was going to have any kind of real strength in this push, we would have broke this, held this, and jumped, right? The only way I can see some strength back into it would be a false breakout to trap some bears and then another jump, right? Or us holding, like you said, the 1 hour lows plus the EU low, right? So if we get another deep push here, remember many times we've seen this in each session, right? Where it's going to rear up and it's going to hit a key level, which these are key levels. When it hits it, if it can't break it, it's going to rear back. It typically creates an equal or slightly lower low. Then it's going to try one more time. If that one more time here fails, it's going to have one chance to come back about halfway. If the halfway holds, it's going to jump up and then it's good. If it doesn't hold, then that next drop is going to be an even deeper low. So let's see how this acts, and let's see what he says or does within the shift, guys. Guys, if you're on TikTok too, you can come into the room. It's free. While we're waiting on that, you just come into nextstepalgo.com and we're in an open session. You just click here and then click start open session. So you guys can join if you want to get off TikTok and join in. But let's look at one thing here. All right. So he's holding his guns though, man, to his bearish, and so far he's right. So we know that we
The
have
market
slow.
exhibits a clear bearish structure across all time frames.
Let's keep
The
pushing.
5-minute macro bias is bearish, confirmed by the 1-minute trend indicators and price progression, which shows continued lower lows after failing to reclaim prior highs. The 15-second time frame also aligns with strong bearish momentum, reinforcing the higher time frame direction, indicating a high probability continuation of the downside. Sentiment: bearish. Confidence: 8 out of 10. Reason: all time frames, 5 minutes, 1 minute, 15 seconds, show clear bearish structure and momentum, with price consistently pushing to create new lower lows. The failure of price to break higher after recent pushes confirms continued bearish control. Concerns: price has experienced a significant push lower, which could lead to a minor pullback before further continuation. However, there are no immediate structural supports or reclaims indicating a shift in control.
Okay. So again, you know, he's still sticking to his guns, you know, and so far he's not wrong. You guys know from in here, when we are at that 253, we talked about sweep wick, pull down, we're below 253. Anything below that's going to create that pull. like we were just talking about a minute ago, when we have this push up, we usually create a lower low. This came a pretty deep lower low, right? So now what we want to see, in order to get any kind of bullishness, right, we got to reclaim on the micro at least this low, 138. So we know 076 is a really big support level. It's tapped it a million times and jumped. We know that there's a little bit of a, I mean, if you cut through one of the wicks here, right, it would be kind of like that. If you take all the wicks, it'd be like that. If we cut through that one, we kind of stay a little parallel with this one, which is interesting to me. So I'm going to kind of pull that there, and we'll see if it respects that area, which would also be the 076. Now, if this 076 breach wicks, rears back, closes below, it is a long fall. We have prior day low, which is here, 981, could be what it's trying to chase. Any kind of push, if you're taking more of a top and bottom kind of play, right, you want to look for at least some kind of bounce here, right? You want to see some kind of reclaim of these areas, right? With the doji close and then do it. Anything short of that, guys, it's, I mean, he's sticking to his guns. He's bearish, so very cool to see. So let's see how we do it here. So we know we have a pull into this line here, which, what is this? That's the 1 hour 200 EMA. Remember, that's what we were saying, that likely it was going to come down and hit, so be careful because we breached it. Should have dumped. If we reclaim and hold with a close above that breach, right? So you have the doji here, a close above there is going to be pretty OA to go back. With us kind of reclaiming that, I mean, I have some questions as to why, if we close below that, why didn't we just dump? But the DOM pressure is still pretty southern. So we'll see. Just looking at something. Yeah, but it's crazy, man. Look at this. Since open, he's been bearish. It's been dropping like a nut. How have you guys been doing on your P&Ls? Have you guys been following some of these? I mean, even the signals are bearish. Sell, sell. It's all lining up here. So, but let's watch this again. Right, we did here, which should have dropped. Then we reclaimed it. Kind of got to close above the doji, which should have jumped, and it didn't. So we're in a very big indecision area here. So again, we know if we stay below that 1 hour 200 EMA, this is the liquidity is likely going to chase. But we want to look and make sure that it's not any kind of a trap, right? We do have a lot of news that's out there right now, with Trump throwing out some tweets and stuff, so be really careful. But let's watch and see. What I want to see from Neo is, when he brings these concerns, right, so like here, prices experience significant push lower, which could lead to a minor pullback before further continuation. However, there's no immediate structural support that supports the reclaims, indicating a shift in control. So he's basically saying that, you know, we've fallen a long
The market
ways,
is displaying strong bearish alignment across all time frames, with the 5 minutes and 1 minute EMA 200 indicating a dominant downtrend. The 1 minute price
crazy.
action
I've not
consistently
seen him say
shows
that.
lower
Look at
lows
this.
and lower highs, with recent pushes extending the downside momentum and failing to reclaim prior resistance. The 15 seconds time frame further confirms this bearish progression with its own trend metrics, indicating clear continuation for a high probability downside entry. Sentiment: bearish. Confidence: 9 out of 10. Reason: all time frames, 5 minutes, 1 minute, 15 seconds, exhibit a clear bearish structure and strong trend alignment, with price consistently creating lower lows and lower highs. The progression shows significant downside expansion and a failure to reclaim any recent higher levels. Concerns: there are no immediate concerns for a bearish trade. The market is showing strong, clear directional movement without conflicting signals or significant support levels being
look at it's still dropping.
tested from the provided data.
That is crazy, you guys. I have not seen him say. Have any of you guys seen him say that? That there's no immediate concerns.
Concerns. There are no concerns.
I have not seen him say that.
Is that basically him saying just YOLO a few contracts and
It's just him saying there's no immediate concerns, I guess.
yeah, yeah.
Apparently.
And
That's
he's right. Look, I mean,
and
he's
he's
not
right.
wrong.
It just dumped. Look at like that. He went 9 out of 10. I've not seen him say I have no concerns. Like as someone who knows the behind the curtains, right? I don't even know that I have to ask Alex to look at like I've even allowed him to say that there's no concerns because normally, just like you guys know all too well, I always like to have him say some kind of concerns, right? Because there's always some kind of concern, right? But he was like, "There's no concerns," and then it just went, it just dumped. That's crazy. All right, guys, here is some of my concerns. As we have pushed really far down, we are very imbalanced. We are in a green area, which we all know is my landmine area. Any touches here or any touches within here that create a bullish momentum up is usually pretty strong. So he's not going to see the indicator stuff like that. So you got to kind of, don't try to ride these things too long. We have some clear micro kind of downtrend you can play like that. If you want to see if we're going to get a push out of this box, we want a breach wick, rear, close above, and then that is going to be pretty decent push. Anything short of that, we're still coming down. So pretty crazy. I've kind of wanted to see how he reacts to a more continuation day because yesterday was such a chop zone day. So what I'm interested to see is when does he change his mind on the fact that we're going back up, right? Now, keep in mind, he's going to keep calling the sentiment bearish as long as the sentiment is bearish, right? So even if we get a little bit of a push, at times he's not intimidated by that. He's going to just say, well, that's just a little bit of a push, right? Clip this? Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'll have to go in and clip that. That was crazy. I have to remind myself when that was there. But yeah, so we'll see how it goes here, right? So now as we're pushing in here, we couldn't breach it. We're pulling in. Prior day low is 80. If we breach prior day low, guys, like it is just gonna be crazy how that drops. So let's look and see. Check something here. Pretty cool, man. This is only his second market open, and so far he's crushed it. What's funny is, did you guys notice yesterday? It was so choppy, and there was a few where he's like, it's bearish, but then he would outline the concerns, and then when those concerns invalidated, right, we we jumped the other way, right? So you still got to kind of know what you're looking at and know how to interpret them. Guys, we're coming into the daily prior low, right? Any kind of hold here with a breach wick, rear back push is going to be met with a pretty big explosion. So be careful shorting into here. You do not want to short into a wall. So, and that's what we're seeing right now, right? So, getting the push finally on that. We are way oversold on the 1 minute, way oversold.
The market
on
is
the
in a clear
5
bearish
minute.
trend across all time frames, from the macro 5 minutes bias to the
Watch his
micro.
concerns now.
15 seconds progression. Price has established lower lows and lower highs, consistently failing to reclaim prior resistance levels, indicating strong downside intent.
I'll tell you why I'm laughing.
This confluence of structural alignment and confirmed price progression presents a high probability continuation to the downside. Sentiment. Bearish. Confidence. 8 out of 10. Reason. Clear
Notice
bearish
the
structure with
concern,
consistent
guys.
lower lows and lower highs across the 5 minutes, 1 minute, and 15 seconds time frames. All EMA and VWAP indicators confirm the strong bearish trend, with price trading well below these key levels, indicating dominant seller control and continued downside momentum. Concerns. The market has experienced a significant downside push, which could potentially lead to a temporary oversold bounce or shallow pullback before further bearish continuation.
Notice how I was kind of looking at that. We have oversold, oversold, oversold. And so again, remember, the sentiment is bearish. It is, right? He is confident that the sentiment is bearish. But the concerns are the most important here, right? Because if you look, the reasoning why he's saying that is all time frames a lie, the line that we're bearish, which it does. But his concern is we've gone down a little bit too much too fast, and that could create a temporary oversold bounce or a shallow pullback before continuation, which is why we're seeing that bounce. So far he's pretty on point with that too. And we see we got the bounce, and then we're getting that pull, right? Now, whether or not, you guys know just trading, for this to be a continuation, like a shallow bounce continuation, we would need to see this sweep this low, and then it's going to dump hard. Anything short of that, right, we're breach, close above, a rear back. If we push up here, right, and get that close above, then it's pretty OA to here, right? And so that's going to give us our micro, is the trend shifting, right? I'm going to delete this line there because that one didn't quite hold. But notice how the micro, right, we have a push, halfway pull, a close above there, so pretty close, like to, we'll say 45, 46, right, is going to give us propulsion, right, which should push us at least back to the 76 here. 1 minute does have a gap fill sitting here about 060 on that. We don't have any traps that are there. The 618 is sitting also here. I would love for that to reclaim that, and then we can push back up to the 382, but I definitely would like a reclaim on that one. So let's see. This is actually throwing another sell. Now a breakout retest of this type of structure is not uncommon as well. So be careful in your shorts, right? Because I know this is very bearish, and yes, we could have a slight pullback and then continue down. But we also are right into the green area of the prior day low. And you guys know, most of the mentor group and in the development session, I'm not a huge fan of shorting into the prior day low. Because although we can break it and just be very bearish, that prior day low is an area that can landmine as well. So you want to be really careful. So let's kind of watch it. Right now it's trying to hold that area. Remember, we needed, for us to get full expansion, we needed that close above here. And we didn't get that yet. So if we come out to our macro in 1 minute, and you look at the lows, guys, a lot of times when you get these deep pulls here, you get pulls back up halfway liquidity reclaim to retest these prior lows. So it could literally still be bearish, pull all the way to here, hit that, and then just dump, right? If it hits this low, which is like 135, and reclaims, it's going to be a big push. So, but so far right now, we're pretty bearish on that. But, where he's not wrong is we're, like I said, we're negative 35 and negative 30 oversold. You don't want to be shorting into oversold. Like, not that deep like that, right? Let it settle and then find it. So let's just kind of be patient. He's going to give out another update here in about a minute. Again, see how it's trying to hold that area right here of the doji. See how we have tapped it multiple times. So that usually is going to give a push, rear back push, lower low, another push, which gives a breach wick, close above, which would push it, right? We're not there yet on the confirmation to when to go in, but it's the DOM's trying. It's looking like it wants to. So a couple minor DOM jumps I see in the corner of my eye, but nothing super crazy.
The market exhibits a dominant bearish structure.
Let's see.
Across the macro timeframes, with price significantly below the 5 minutes and 1 minute EMA 200 and the 1 minute anchored VWAP. While there was a recent attempt for a breakout to the upside according to the 1 minute hike in Ashi, the current 1 minute price progression shows a clear failure to hold higher prices, evidenced by recent lower highs and lower lows, indicating strong downside pressure. The 15 seconds time frame, despite a bullish LSMA trend, shows a negative slope and a bearish EMA, signaling a lack of micro-bullish conviction in alignment with the higher time frame bearish sentiment. Sentiment: bearish, confidence, 7 out of 10. Reason: the market displays clear bearish structure on both the 5 minutes and 1 minute time frames, with price trading well below key resistance levels. Recent 1 minute price progression confirms strong downside momentum and a failure of any bullish reclaim attempts to sustain. Concerns: the 15 seconds LSMA shows a bullish trend, albeit with a negative slope, indicating a potential weakening or failure of this micro-bullish attempt, creating a minor short-term contradiction. Dot.
Dot. I don't know why he says dot. So again, let's analyze it, right? Sentiment is bearish, which again, we still are very bearish. His confidence is, a little less on it. Market's displaying that. He explains why, which is not wrong. But he is noticing that there is now some bullish sentiment going on the micro level, right? Now, keep in mind, he can say we're bearish even though we pull up a little bit here, right? Because, you guys know, like we said, we can get a pull down, a push up, and then still pull back, still remaining kind of bearish within that sense, right? And so, let me look at something. Yeah. So, again, you guys know, like I said, when you're shorting into a prior day low, there's certain things Neo can see right now, and there's certain things that we got to feed him more data, right? And we can only do it at like certain kind of small chunks. We can't do it too fast on it. And so he's not going to see some of the indicator stuff we see. He's not going to see, I think he can see prior daily low. I'll have to look on that. But, because he looks back pretty far. Like, I think it's like 1,000 or 2,000 candles or something. And so I'll have to confirm on that. But there's things in there like price levels that I have marked on high time frame that he doesn't have the data yet for that. So that's why we want to use this as a guidance to say, okay, hey, I'm bearish. This is why. What is my concerns about being bearish, right? Well, if he says, the concerns are we're not giving a higher high close or something above on the 1 minute. Well, if we get that push and those concerns become valid, right? So let's say, one of the logics that I teach is this Lisma. This is a great angle. This is a good resistance. If we dance here and then we push up, breach wicking Lisma, rear back, and we hold there, that's going to give us a push to close above, and we're OA. So that at that point, although the sentiment is bearish, and he's explaining why, his concerns now become validated, which allows us to trade the inverse, right, of what he's saying on that. So there still has to be a little interpretation to him. Guys, as he gets smarter, as we continue to monitor what he's flagging as right or wrong, we'll give him a little more leeway to call out more prices, right? But he's just there mostly for guidance. We don't want to change what we know when we trade, right? And so if you're looking for more safe entries, right, these are some key levels we really got to get above, we got 1 hour Lisma, 1 minute Lisma, or I'm sorry, 1 minute Lisma, 1 hour 200 EMA, and we're below this EMA. We need more juice to push us back north, right? For me, if you can get this push here, a breach wick there, and then a pullback, and then a close above, this would be a pretty good OA long back to the north. If you like continuations, you can look to take a continuation, but it's a little dangerous. Anything short of us closing below this prior day low is going to be really dangerous. Really, really, really dangerous, actually. So just be really careful, guys. So let's look and see. Let's adjust this 1 minute trend. So we're going to look about there. We did have a pull. Remember what I was saying? A lot of times when these create this structure, it likes to push up and retest these prior lows right here. Somewhere in there, like 133. So let's just kind of see how this goes. Anything short of 076, if it rejects hard here, guys.
The macro
It's
5
coming
minutes
down.
time frame is bearish, reinforced by the primary 1 minute time
Lot more
frame's bearish
concerns.
EMA 200,
So watch the
VWAP,
concerns.
and Heiken Ashi color. Price action on the 1 minute shows a recent push failing to create a higher high, followed by a clear progression of lower highs and lower lows, indicating a return to bearish control. However, the 1 minute time frame is also signaling indecision with a doji and being inside range, and the micro 15 seconds time frame presents conflicting trend data, reducing overall time
we
frame
got the
alignment
breach
and
rate.
making this a lower probability entry. Sentiment: bearish. Confidence: 4 out of 10. Reason: the 5 minutes and 1 minute EMA 200 trends are bearish, supported by a bearish 1 minute anchored VWAP. The recent 1 minute price progression shows a failure to establish a higher high after a push, followed by the formation of lower highs and lower lows, indicating strong bearish control. Concerns: the 1 minute time frame exhibits a doji candle and is inside range, suggesting indecision. Crucially, the 15 seconds time frame
That was
shows
here.
conflicting signals with a bullish LSMA trend but a bearish slope, while its EMA trend is bearish. This significant time frame misalignment prevents a high probability entry.
Yeah. So basically, again, sentiment is bearish because it still is, but it's saying it's not a good entry, right? If you're trying to take a continuation for it, and look, its concerns are valid. Again, this goes to where, like I said, you got to interpret what he's saying, what the reasonings are, what the concerns are. At some point, we plan on making him do signal calls, but that could be some time, right? He's still got to learn. It's like he's still like a child. He's only 2 days old, guys. As far as watching market open, this is only his second market open. So, as far as what I was telling you, prior day lows, not very good to short. Coming up, hold this, pushes there. Notice here we held these highs, which was right on these highs. Got to close above. That gave us the steam we needed. Like I was telling you here, this type of structure typically pushes up, gives a breach wick above Lisma. A close above that is going to give a pretty good push. Now, if this closes above this, we are coming into a trend. That close above there should have enough juice to push this trend. If it does, we might push, get a little rear back, then that close above has got to get to the 200. So there's a lot of levels of resistance, right? You got here, and you got here. They're all key. Once we get through here, that's likely going to give a really good push because that would be the ORB, right, reclaim. So, but let me take a look at a couple things here. Let's see. No. But yeah, so far, guys, I'm happy with him. I think he's doing awesome. What is that? 40?
All right, I'm out of here.
Did you get your goal?
Yep.
Love it, man. Love it. Yeah. I'll tell you, Cody, that's the one thing I said it the other day, I think, but you weren't on, that I was really impressed with is that before you would at times get your goal, but you'd still stick around, right? And then that gives you that little like, let me take one more trade, right? And then the problem with that kind of one more trade, right, is that it ends up getting you caught, right? That you're like watching the candles at times, gives you that extra FOMO. And I've noticed that you're like, you hang out, you watch the market, you do your thing, you make your money, and then you take off, for even if it's just for a bit. So that's awesome. It's good
Yep.
show of discipline.
I run while I can. That's the way I do it.
Yeah. And even if you come back, right, for open session, it's good to just walk away for a moment, right? But see how we're getting this continued push here. Again, the concerns right here are playing out. Remember, like I said, as far as trading, we got the breach. The way the structure looks is it looked like it was going to come back. We needed to come back and test this area. So 134 is going to be a pretty big area, guys. Pretty big area. Because if we can breach that, if we reclaim that low of 134, it's going to be just a nasty push. But if we come up, hit that 134, or let's say we breach it and then we lose it, it's going to be a nasty drop. Now, we know we're coming into the 1 minute. We have the breach here. That usually likes to breach and then rear back, right? And then push again, so on that. So we got to watch that.
The market is exhibiting a strong bullish push on the 1 minute and 15-second time frames, establishing recent higher lows and higher highs. However, this upward progression is occurring within an overarching bearish structure defined by the 5-minute and 1-minute EMA 200 and VWAP, which remain bearish. This lack of time frame alignment and the current price pushing into significant overhead resistance makes this a low probability entry for a sustained directional move. Sentiment: bullish. Confidence: 3 out of 10. Reason: price progression on the 1 minute and 15-second charts shows a clear bullish push, with the current move creating higher lows and higher highs from recent turning points. Concerns: the macro bias on the 5-minute and 1-minute timeframes, EMA 200, anchored VWAP, remains bearish. This bullish price action is a counter-trend move, pushing into established resistance, indicating a lack of full timeframe alignment for a high probability continuation.
Oh, he did flip bullish. I wasn't even looking at that. So again, the overall macro, we're still bearish, which is why he's he's flipping it bullish because the latest sentiment is looking pretty bullish off our bounce, right? His concern is that the macro bias, 5 minute and 1 minute, right, are still bearish, as well as the anchored VWAP, right? So we do have a lot of bearishness. I find it interesting that he's flipping to bullish with all of that data, that he's, because he's got the ability to make those decisions. He did that in our pre-market. It was funny. He was like bearish, bearish, bearish. He's like bullish, and then like 15 seconds after he was announcing it, it just shot north, and we were like, oh shoot. And so I'm just curious. Like, this is the first bullish call he's done since open. So I would love to see if we could get a push. Now it's to me it's a little ballsy for him, right? Because he's not wrong in the sentiment, but we have a breach wick, right, that should likely get a pullback to here before it tries to reclaim, right? That's just a normal market continuation. So he's got his reasoning. Price progression on the 1 minute and 15-second charts show clear bullish push, with the current move creating higher highs and higher lows from the recent turning points. That's why he's making that decision to flip, right? So keep in mind, in market structure, when we have a push or a pull, as this thing pushes, we can pull back. Anything in here is considered a higher low and then pushes, right? And so there can be some pullback within that. So you still have to use your logic and understanding of entries, right, to determine when to enter, right? So if you're going to take, remember we talked about back here, it looked like it was going to have enough steam to breach wicket, rear back, close above it. That close above, being in the trend line, is likely going to pull it back to retest that 76. 76, or at least this prior high, which would be 69, has got to bounce again. If that bounces again, then we're just a push, rear back test of support, which was lost right here. And then that's going to be what is the catalyst that just really pushes us, right? Now, if we sweep this and we lose it with any kind of steam without a absorption reclaim, then that's not good, right? From any kind of bullish perspective, because we are breaking south, right, from our 1 minute trend, downtrend, which would create another oscillation, which would do this and then pull back, right? So let's just watch. I'm watching the DOM because I want to see how that reacts. In here, we should see some DOM jumps north if it's going to support that potential. See, there's one. There's one. I would consider that a DOM jump north. But let's see if it gets absorbed. Remember, we got the DOM jump showing the buyers are coming in where the buyers need to come in. That has to create another breach here, right, in order to show strength. Now, we are below this level as well, so breach wick, rear, close above would push it to there. So let's watch it. Guys, if you're on TikTok as well, you guys can come into the Google Meet. It's free in here. If you want to come in, just go in here, register for free, click on that. Neo is turned on because I've forced him on. He will not be on for you guys. He'll stay on as long as I keep him on, which I probably will do because I'm trying to give him as much data as he can get for the markets. But his normal hours will be 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. and then 6 p.m. Eastern to 10 p.m. for right now.
The market's macro structure on the
He's
5
changing
minutes
his
and
mind
1
a
minute
little
time
bit.
frames is
Both
clearly
of them are
bearish,
3,
with
so
price trading
let's
well
look and see
below
what his
significant
concerns
moving
are.
averages. The recent 1 minute price progression reflects this, showing a failure to sustain an upward
I don't know
push,
about that one.
followed
Let's
by a
see.
series of lower highs and lower lows. However, the 15 seconds time frame is indicating a bullish trend, which creates a significant conflict and misalignment with the dominant higher time frame bearish structure, preventing a high probability entry in either direction.
Okay.
Sentiment: bearish. Confidence:
So he's
3
basing
out of
it.
10.
I'm just going to talk
Reason:
over him for a second.
the 5 minutes and 1 minute.
Let me mute him. He's basing the reason because we are failing to create a higher high here, right? So you have to interpret that. Now, he did flip it over to being more bearish, right, on his call versus the bullish because we're failing to create that higher high. So if we do come up, if you wanted to take a long, like I've been saying, this is the high that you need to get that close above. Now, because we have had a significant pullback, I'm okay with this being your breach wick, close above that for that high, right? And so, but yeah, interesting flip on that. Price action is counter trend move, established resistance, lacking full timer prime. Yeah, interesting. Very low on the confidence, but let's see how he reacts to that. Now, keep in mind, there's a few things, like I said, he can't see, like this level here. If this pushes and we stay above 076, guys, it's going to push again. He just can't see that for right now. Yeah, Daniel, that's why I'm trying to get to people. He's not buying sell signal, guys. He's just telling you what the sentiment is and what the confidence of the sentiment is. The key area here is the reason and the concerns. If the concerns invalidate, like if I'm bearish, but I have concerns of, being bearish, which is why I'm low. Well, if those concerns invalidate, you can take that inverse trade, right? So you definitely want to interpret it the right way. Let's see. It's funny, yesterday when I was doing that, I was kind of like explaining why he's doing one thing or another. And I'm like, oh, he's probably thinking this or whatever. And I'm like, I don't know about this one. And then it would play out. And I'm like, excuse me. So let's look at the macro. Look at where we rejected, guys. Almost perfect on the prior low. See that? Remember I was telling you guys when we were back into our prior daily low, likely there's a push to retest this prior low. So that 135 area, which it peaked out right there, is key. If being where we rejected, if we rear back and we get a close below, it's going to dump hard. Now, I'm noticing some DOM jumps north off of an area that should DOM jump north. Doesn't really give me bearish, spidey sense of it, right? But in this indicator here, I need a breach close above would give me OA to here. This, I know I need to close above here in order to give me OA to there, right? And so, but again, if you notice this line, the yellow line is acting pretty good as support. That's likely going to have enough pressure to push it. No, there it goes. Pretty good push. There she goes. All right. Let me look at a couple things here. So we got the push that we was expecting, right? And so him flipping here, remember, was based off of not having the higher high, which is not wrong, right? And again, he can't see that level. So that's why you got to still interpret it. Eventually he will be able to see it, but he needs more data, more time on the chart. And so let's see how he changes with this push here. So we did get the breach, the close above. That should push it to breach like that, right? Now, again, we know that the 134 range is really big. Let's get the actual low, 133.75. So I need to see that, which would be like right there. I want to see that be reclaimed and held. Anything short of that, right? It's gonna have a pretty significant pull again. So let's look and see. Let me check something. Oh, let me turn it back on.
The 5 minutes and 1 minute EMA 201 minute anchored VWAP. While the most recent 1 minute price progression shows an aggressive push higher and a green Heiken Ashi candle, this is a counter trend move. That is now approaching significant overhead resistance. Timeframe alignment is poor, with conflicting signals on the 1 minute and 15 seconds timeframes, making this a low probability entry. Sentiment: bearish. Confidence: 3 out of 10. Reason: the overarching structure remains clearly bearish as price is deeply suppressed below the 5 minutes and 1 minute EMA 200 and the 1 minute anchored VWAP. The current bullish push is a counter trend move directly into these key bearish resistance levels, lacking full timeframe alignment for a sustained reversal. Concerns: the recent strong bullish price progression on the 1 minute timeframe indicates a significant immediate buying presence. However, this move is occurring within a clear macro bearish trend and micro time frame signals are mixed. showing an internal conflict between bullish and bearish momentum indicators.
Not wrong, right? You can see the micro, right? We're getting breakout north that should have broke, breakout south that should have dropped, breakout, north here should have pushed, and then we lost it. I mean, the micro is conflicted right now. Now, what we can do is break down the micro and say, okay, micro's conflicted, what's my 1 minute doing, right? Because this is just going to be a lot of noise. So the 1 minute is showing we have clear support, we have a deep push, we lost it into a hammer. This close below this hammer is going to drop us to Lisma. Close above the hammer is going to give us a secondary push, which is probably more likely to happen, but it's tough, guys, because again, if we stay below 133, that's still bearish, guys. We're a drop, retest of the low, drop, right? What is the on the far left? You talking about this one? This one's flow trading. Yeah, flow trading. That one. Yeah, so let's see. But the reason why I'm saying it's probably more likely to come to here than to here is only based on the fact that we are compressing above a support versus below, right? That usually, to me, shows more leaning north than south, but there's a lot of hurdles it's got to get through. So we'll see. And the biggest one for me, guys, another thing to look at, you guys know from my mentorship, right? We see possible 1, 2 tier drop, right? So if this can't reclaim that high, it's going to dance for a little bit, and then we might have another drop. But we also know when we do these kind of tier drops, if we breach this trend at all, right, that's going to be a pretty big push. But it's pretty unclear what it's going to do, guys. You guys know with Lisma, I love it, how it's curling like this. A lot of times this thing will curl, and then you'll come back and tap it before you get the push. For me to get a kind of more of a sense of a, bullish, I would love to continuously see hammers within here. Same thing with the micro. You can see we have a kind of a hammer down, hammer up, so I want to close above that hammer. That would show me strength. Close below that hammer is going to show me weakness, all right, the push. I had Alex. I like how Alex put the little blue around it to show you which one the latest one is. He did some cool little cosmetic updates to it. And for those who want to make it weird, right? So when people argue with Neo, I had to do my backdrop as Neo, so I just do this. Like, excuse me, what'd you say? We were kind of joking about it this morning. So, see how we're still seeing this pull? Again, we're still below this macro low, so it's not really a super safe long until we breach that. But I know a lot of times when we get these kind of pulls, it likes to push, hold, test Lisma, and then that would be what would be the catalyst. But if I think this is going to truly, or if I want to really believe or have confirmation that this is going to really jump and get up here, I need to see some kind of like I want to see this thing sweep this and then reclaim this. Like, give me a deep absorption kind of wick, right? If we get that deep absorption wick, then that's a good high probability that's our sign to go back up, right? But as of right now, you can see the micro is kind of failing a little bit. We have a little structural break here. We got to close below. That should push it to there. If it reclaims this, then the buyers are in, guys, and they're gonna push this thing up higher. Because we are clear right now where normally on the microstructure that would drop us to this low. So if it doesn't do that, then it is not ready. So let's watch. Okay. Guys, we have 1040. I'm gonna at 1045. I'm gonna kind of kick him off here, and we'll get ready for our afternoon session. So, if you guys have any questions, now's a good time to ask. while we kind of wait for this to do something, if you want to join the development session that is next, then all you gotta do is go to the development program and subscribe. So, and then you'll see that this will be green. You just click it. Our flow is really easy in this room. You're going to go to open session, development session, mentor session, right? And you just click on it the same way on all of them. You just open it, click that, opens your Google Meet, just like all you guys are on this Google Meet for. Another quick little shout out here is the trading courses. We do have a really good coupon out there now if you go to it. It's a one-time purchase, not an MRR thing. We are going to start putting these out pretty quickly. We have 52 of them created, so there's going to be quite a lot of knowledge that goes through. But the first one is available. It's like $30. It's not that expensive. But you can see when you come into it, guys, just a quick little snapshot. It's a full book, you know.
Lesson
You're
1
gonna have audio. She's going to read it to you. You can kind of flip through the pages like that. You can tap it if you want to just interactively tap it. You're gonna have quizzes, everything, the whole works. Ebook, workbook. It's pretty detailed. So anybody who's want to just kind of begin the journey, right, of diving in a little deeper into understanding NQ, that's a great place to start for you guys. So other than that, guys, 1 p.m. if you're not part of the development session, beta is still free for Neo. All you got to do is click the analysis session when his stuff highlights up green like that, and then you'll be in like slim. Other than that, guys, let's just recap aside from Neo. So I'm gonna mute Neo on this. Yeah, he might have let's refresh him. Yeah, see, I have him forced in session, so I think
Hello, I'm Neo. Let's
might
capture
have,
the move.
He might have forced himself out of session on that. let me see, because I have him set to where he doesn't go on right until that 1 p.m. unless I force him. So give me 1 second. Let me look at something. Yeah, I'm gonna force him to sleep here real quick, guys. So you can see he's offline for now. We'll open him up in the development session again, guys. But for right now, I don't want him to be distracted. So let's analyze this also from an indicator standpoint. From the trap standpoint, we really don't have any traps. We did have a trap here that did end up pushing up. In all fairness, we did get an order block from the trap signaling on 512, which is a short. It had an A setup with 3 touches, and it was in line with high time frame, right? So that block on the trap played out really well for those that took that. You guys can kind of see where we're at here. If you shrink this down, we don't really have a lot of resistance from a confluence standpoint to like 315, you know, is what it's calling, which is pretty high up there. Interesting. When you look at our buy-sell signals that we do through the precision engine, I'm going to mute a little noise. And let's just analyze that and see how it did. So for the precision engine, you guys can see we had a buy here at 830, did end up playing out because we went from 222 all the way to 246. It's more than enough room to trail. Aside from that, it stayed short the whole time, guys, even right there. The micro, you can see our last buy here was 930. It's on the micro. It got faked out a little bit on our market open. Yeah, it was a market open candle. Since market open, it has stayed sell. Didn't throw a buy till there, right? On the break, which was here on the 1 minute. So the micro was suggesting possible pull, but the 1 minute was holding strong on sell. You can see the 5 minute, we had a sell here with a pull down to there, right? And so, from an indicator standpoint, from a signal standpoint, it played out pretty well. For the adaptive liquidity framework, what I love on this one is we know we had the inverse head and shoulder that collapsed on open. We end up dropping. When you zoom into this, you can see it's identifying a pretty kind of oversold area. We did breach back above Lisma. We know that when we breach, like I was telling you, when we breach Lisma, it likes to kind of curl a little and pull with it. So the way that this kind of did the call, the first green candle outside of the colored candles is kind of your setup, which played pretty well. On the 5 minute, you can see we are still kind of like a light blue into a blue, coming out of it into a light blue. So we're still really really oversold. We actually have equal lows on our thermal compression engine, but you can see we have significant lower lows. So that's obviously showing macro divergence as well, supporting my theory that we might be setting up a little bit of a bear trap and pushing back north, right, pretty soon. So not too bad, right, from the indicator setup, from depending what you chose to trade, right, within your model, wasn't too bad. So we had POCs here. These are our pockets in the visible range, right, within there. So in order for us to really push, we want to get above this kind of lip of the pocket, which makes sense why we're rejecting there, because that would push us up to here within the pocket, which would push us to the 200. So it kind of lines up, right? So I would not be taking shorts right now. So because anytime you are really close to this prior daily low, right, which is right there, again, it's not a great place to short. Now we could breach this, is very possible, but it's still just not a safe entry, right, because it can landmine like crazy too, right? Think about this: we have a deep pull, we broke our structure, we're kind of ugly bull flagging. If this thing ends up breaking some more structure, it's going to jump pretty hard, right? But we know Lisma's here, so a pull to Lisma is pretty likely with that. So, but just be careful, guys. For me, probably through the development session, I'm going to be looking more long. I'm just going to be looking for setups within those longs. So if you guys want to join the development session, please do so. Aside from that, guys, I'm going to leave it open for questions. What you got for me? Any questions? I mean, no questions is good, I guess. Anybody want to talk about how they did? Good, bad, ugly, what they learned, thoughts, profit?
Yeah, I caught myself revenge trading today because I was green last night, went to bed, wake up, and I suppose I left some trades open overnight that just completely wrecked my account. So
Oh no,
yeah, so
you got
I'm
limit order jack.
fighting against, I guess, karma. I don't know. I don't know what I don't know what I'm up against this morning.
Yeah, revenge trading is
But
not a good idea. Definitely when guys see the trap indicator forming. It's not a great idea when the market's like this too. We do have a trap indicator here forming, right? So this one's a little tougher read because usually with this trap, I look for that kind of doji wick, and then I want to close above, and then that validates the trap, right? Um, but this is a really big wick. So, but we can also look at it like this: higher low. These are our lows. If we reclaim those lows, right, then the trap's likely to play out, kind of thing. So we'll see. Any close below that, right, it's going to invalidate the trap. So it's a little early on. See how we're still internal in the box. It's just saying, hey, this is probably a trap area, but we haven't confirmed yet. But yeah, that's a good thing, Andrew. That and recognizing overtrading, recognizing revenge trading is all key things that are really important, right? And so when you start to feel like, man, I'm in a revenge trading mode, it's probably a good time to walk away, right? And just regroup, or at least not trade market open, right? Because market open's the worst one to revenge trade in, because it will absolutely destroy you for sure. So, anybody else want to share, guys? I'm gonna give you guys the floor for 10 minutes, and if no sharing or questions, right, we'll jump off and head over to our development session. Good deal. Y'all are quiet today. Y'all must be working. People on TikTok like, He's only got one person in his room.
You see how many likes you got?
Yeah, I did, man. Y'all beating the hell out of that. I looked over and saw that. Brent's like, that's why I'm not talking. I'm busy beating my phone. Shut up.
No, I'm working and trading and trying to,
Cool.
pay attention and learn and everything. So
Yeah.
it's a lot.
Yeah. I know Chuck and Lupe and some others, beat the hell out of that too. So, but yeah, you guys are crushing that. Appreciate it. But yeah, good job. I mean, if you did well, awesome. If you didn't do well, let's assess it, right? Because if you think about it, he was calling bearish all through this. The indicator was calling bearish all through this. He didn't really call bullish until in here, and then he kind of, I think it was here, and then he flipped it, which makes sense because we're chopping, right? Then he flipped back to bearish, which is interesting because I was actually thinking that this push here was going to be the one to really push, and we actually inversed, and so he was actually right on the continued bearish. But just remember, like I said, it's within market logic to breach Lisma like this and then come retest it before it bounces. Now, if this retest just blows through, guys, we dump, and I'd be really careful. Either I wouldn't trade or just be really patient on that. But you guys can see this is the market structure one. I didn't look at it earlier, but we're S3 across all time frames. So it's not S4. S3 for those that took the university kind of course that we had back then. It's kind of reading that logic that says, S2 is like a normal market, respecting structure, everything's lining up, right? S3 means that there's some kind of invalidations of structural conflict, things like that. Not exactly doing what it's supposed to do, which is pretty on point, even from the TA we're doing. And then S4 is when it's like, do not trade, just stay out of that shit. Because you guys know when you've seen the S4 days, right? Because you'll see like, oh, push. Oh, we got the close above. Sweet, I'm in. $100 drop. Like, where did that come from, right? And those are the days that get you. And so that's why this indicator we've been really working hard on to kind of tell you not to trade. If you see that in S4, stay out of the market. And we plan on eventually merging those kind of things into Neo, so he could literally, like, I want him to come up and say, guys, we're looking this, but not really a great place to trade. I'm gonna let's go ahead and take a little pause, right? This is a bad day to trade, or this is a bad hour to trade, or whatever it identifies. So, but what's up, Louie?
Nick, they're on the 5-minute chart. Let's see what time it is. When you go to the left, there's a long candle that shoots out, and the purple and the blue line stop. It stopped right at the purple line. Can you move the cursor? I keep going. To the left.
Your mic's a little. You're talking about the 5-minute chart. Your mic's cutting in and out a little.
Hold on, let me switch out.
Real quick before it goes up, but Randy said he made $2,000 this morning, and he's gonna head
Can you
to
hear me now?
shipment. So good job, Randy. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, go to the left.
Which
Keep
one do you
going,
want?
keep going,
5
keep
minute,
going.
1 minute, 15
On
seconds.
on the 5-minute.
Throw me a
5
bone.
minute.
All right, good deal.
Yeah, right. Yeah, to the left, keep going right, stop, to the right. Right there.
Hold on, Lupe, for a
Where
minute. Can
the-
I do what sometimes y'all do in
it's-
101s?
it's-
Go left.
Yeah, it's the long.
No, go right. This
Go
way.
long,
Okay, wait, go
right,
left.
push right.
Like, no, the other left.
No, it's the,
Sorry,
the
go
long
ahead.
candle that stopped on the blue and purple.
You're talking about
to
this
the
one?
left? No, further left, like
This one?
5 candles right there.
Okay.
What's the blue and purple? Because I think that's when the dude dropped the tweet or the note, the news, I think.
So
But I want to know why it stopped, because I mean, there has to be like something
Yeah.
that stopped it there.
So if you look at the adaptive liquidity framework that we got going on here, so this one,
Okay.
if you remember from this indicator, right, the purple is the 200. Now, I think I left it purple. Usually I like the 200 to be white, so I just didn't change that. But I think I did it because this is the 5-minute chart, and this is my 5-minute line, and so this is my 5-minute. So I don't know. Purple is just like makes me think of 5-minute right on that, and so that's the 200, and then the other one I think is VWAP from it's this one right here. I think it's the VWAP. Let's look. Yeah, the VWAP right there. Right. So you can always tell by see I take it off like that, and so keep in mind, it's a little bit about what we talked about, right? Which is when the market opened. Hey Lupe, your mic's a little hot. All right, when we had the inverse head and shoulders set up and market open exploded, right? It went straight to the POC. Then it lost our 200. It lost our structure break that it would need to have done, and then we broke south, right? And so that, if you think about it, when you really zoom out, hindsight's always beautiful in trading, right? We have a drop, roll in, drop. In theory, we should roll in, right? If we're staying on trend, because normally things don't just go down forever, right? Unless the news is wonky, right? Which is possible, but in theory, we should have some kind of push back up. Now you can see we have some cells formulating. We're above Lisma. There's some things that would support it as a brief pullback. Even when you get these resells, because see, it's a resell, not a regular one. We could get a little bit of a pullback, but it is showing still sell, right? Micro staying sell, 1 minute staying sell, it's playing out. So for you to take a long from here, right, you'd want to at least get the micro to give us some kind of buy to play it back. Now, I'm not a big fan, as you guys know when I teach you, if I were to tell you, hey, this is an oscillatory nature, should I short here? Most of you are going to go, no. Right? Because you don't short at the bottom of an oscillatory trend. Now, can it break? Sure. I mean, there's crazy news. Trump's out there threatening to do crazy stuff to nations, right? Can't say it because TikTok will ban me. But, so it's possible. It doesn't have to respect it. It could just dump, right? But in theory, we got to stick with what the technicals are. Now, we know the 5-minute has a deep drop from open. It came up. Any kind of higher low held here with a doji close above is going to set up a possible double bottom. I need certain things to be respected for that. Like, remember I told you guys, when it sweeps into Lisma, I want to see a sweep deep bounce to show me that the bulls are in. Anything short of that, they're not quite as strong as they're leading on to be, right? So then we'd have to revert back to our prior day, which is this daily low, to see if we get any kind of structural bounce within that. But aside from that, man, the indicators have been on point. So, but guys, let's go get into the development session. I usually push a little bit too late into it, and I want to make sure I respect their time as well. So, any last questions? Otherwise, I'm gonna drop it off here.
Make sure you clip that 805 where he said no concerns, and you can use that as one of your.
Dude, you ain't lying. I was like, when I saw it pop up, because even though he's reading, my first thing I look at is straight to the concerns, and I'm like, I haven't seen him say no concerns, and then it just absolutely it was like here, it's like I got no concerns, then it went and just dumped.
I was in a long.
Whoa. You were in a long.
Yeah, it went from 50 to 250.
Yeah.
Real quick.
Oh, I'm sure your butt puckered when you heard him say, I got no concerns about
this. Yeah, a little bit. But I was able to get out good.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, look at this poll, guys. Jeez. All right, before we go, I'm just going to leave this with you guys. So here's our low. We breached that low. Those breaches typically is going to give us to a lower low. If we reclaim it with any kind of strength, ends up being more stop hunt, right? So you got to be careful. Watch the DOM. So definitely can be somewhat of a stop hunt. But guys, I'm going to drop off TikTok. Thanks for joining. If you guys want to come in, nextstepalgo.com. You can come in here. If you click on development program, sign up for that, and you can join us for the development session from 11 to 1. And I'm going to turn Neo back on for that session. So.
One quick thing. I got stuck earlier and I was down 861 pre-market and just stayed calm and just got back to even for the day. So you can dig yourself out of a hole.
Yes, you can. It's very possible. Just gotta have the patience to do it, right? I'm just gonna look at one quick thing here. Good deal. All right, guys, gonna drop off TikTok.